Hi, good morning everybody. Charlotte here, the Fertility Coach. I apologise if that's too sunny. I'm working from my kitchen today because we've got builders next door and it's not too noisy in my office. So I hope everyone's okay. Say hi if you are there, let me know that you're there and let me know that you can hear me. So give me a wave, yes I can hear you, whatever it is that you want to do. So I'm going to talk today about something really open and honest that happened for me and that happens with pretty much every woman I work with who's going through infertility or has gone through infertility. So the first thing I want to make really clear is that infertility doesn't only affect you if you are going through it there and then. I work with a lot of women who've gone through infertility and then will come and say, you know, I've got my baby now, so why do I still feel like this? And it rolls on and on and on. And if you follow me personally, you'll know that I talk a lot about the worry transferring from getting pregnant to staying pregnant to being in labour and giving birth. And the worry just transfers and transfers. And there's not this switch that you get pregnant and everything switches off. So very often I'll say to somebody when I start working with them, how do you feel? And most words that are used is desperate, lost, exhausted physically, mentally and emotionally and financially a lot of the time, because let's face it does have a financial impact. So we can lose ourselves so often with infertility. I know I definitely did. And I fell into the category of thinking that I was going to get pregnant and I'd just find myself magically again. And I didn't. And the person that I eventually found again, years later, after lots of work, was completely different. She was a mom. She was a lot older. So my husband and I started trying to conceive. And I'd already had my diagnosis for endometriosis. So I knew it was probably going to cause a problem. And had that open and honest, frank discussion with my husband. But, you know, you try and think positively, don't you? And, you know, we thought, okay, well, it'll probably affect us, maybe take us a little bit longer than most people. We weren't really prepared for what was going to come and how long that journey was going to be. So at first, it's all exciting, isn't it? It's all like, and everyone says, oh, you know, it's fun trying and all of that, and it soon wears off. But I still felt like I kept control of me and the person I was. And we were coming up to a year of trying. And even though I'd had my diagnosis for endometriosis and we knew it was going to cause a problem, the doctors still wouldn't do anything for us because you'd still got to be trying a year regardless. So I'd made the appointment and said, okay, we've been trying for a year, nothing's happening. And it was then that it really started to think, okay, well, up until now, it's probably quite normal for most people because there's that standard response, isn't there? If you've been on the pill or you've been on any form of contraception, it can take a year to come out of your body and it's so standard that it grates on you. So it was then that I started to think, well, okay, we haven't been on anything. You know I've got problems. And I remember from that point on, every night we sort of went on, I didn't quite feel the same. If we went out for a day shopping, I paid more attention to the women pushing pushchairs round and having their babies and pregnant ladies. And if we went and sat in a coffee shop or a restaurant, I was paying more attention to the woman that was sat there feeding a child or giving the baby a bottle, rather than actually enjoying me and what I was in and what I was doing. I felt that I became jealous, bitter, quite resentful. And they're all emotions that are really hard to admit when you are going through infertility. And they're always the emotions that as soon as clients say it to me, they go, I know it's really bad, but I feel this. We've got to get out of this stigma that it's really bad, but I feel like this. It's really bad that I feel like this, because that's what prevents us from talking about these emotions, that we're programmed to believe that it's really bad, but I feel like this. It's even worse to not talk about the feelings because they will just snowball and snowball. So I lost myself completely and utterly. And I think because it hadn't happened straight away, I thought that I hadn't lost myself. I was like, oh, you know, I'm dealing with this okay, and had this false, like, smile plastered on my face constantly. And we were at that age where a lot of our friends were getting engaged, getting married, starting to get pregnant. And within a few weeks, we'd had quite a few pregnancy announcements with joint friends. And I think it was starting to hit both of us. And I felt like I lost myself at home, at work. I felt like I lost myself even with my relationships with my parents and my brother. I didn't have any joy in anything anymore, and I talk openly about that. I didn't enjoy going on nights out or going for a meal or going to the cinema or things that I would have normally absolutely loved. I felt like I lost myself in my relationship with my partner. And I knew that when my partner met me, I was this happy person, happy Charlie. Charlie who's always a little bit like quirky and has a bit of a laugh and quite sarcastic and full of personality. And I literally spent my life just going to work, going home, and I was in robot mode, just complete numb robot mode. And over those years, we had a chemical pregnancy, we had miscarriages, we had a failed IVF. And I think that when we started the IVF, even though it was a hard experience to know that that was really our only option, it almost gave me that glimmer of hope that, we're actually starting something that could work. And as soon as that failed again, I just went straight back to lost, and straight back to losing myself. So come the second attempt, I'd sort of just got this negative head on, and I've spoke previously about the fact I just wanted to do something differently. And that attempt worked for us, and that attempt is now our beautiful daughter Remy, who's nearly 6. And I thought, okay, I'm going to have this massive bam moment and everything's going to go back to normal. And it didn't, because I'd lost myself for such a long time. So by the time I had Remy, I'd lost myself for 5 years. And the truth of the matter is Remy was born in 2015, and I didn't really start finding myself again until about 2018. And I'd had hypnotherapy, I'd had counselling, I'd tried everything possible, and it just wasn't working. I just wasn't getting those feelings of finding myself again. And then when I started to find myself, I was this very different person. The me that I'd lost was this young carefree girl who had just got engaged and was all happy, and the me that I found was this mom and wife who had all this responsibility, was buying a house, and oh my god, my world completely changed. So not only did I have to deal with finding myself again, I had to deal with all the changes that had happened over that span of years. And so many people say, I just feel like I've lost myself, and that's it. I don't feel like I can find myself again. I don't feel like I can get the old me back. And how many times have we said, I miss the old me? I miss the carefree me, the me that didn't obsess about buying pregnancy tests and ovulation tests and finding out when my ovulation window was, and the old me that never used to worry about the 2-week wait or worry about time and intercourse to the exact pinpoint moment for optimum results. The exact me that didn't worry about I feel a bit sick, I must be pregnant. It's all of those things. And I used to say to my husband, I miss the old me. And I never found that old me again because my life and me had completely changed. But I found happiness again. I found peace again, I suppose. And everybody will say that comes from having a child, and I'm always a bit controversial in the fact that yes, you do get that because you finally got what you wanted for all of those years. But if you can't be at peace here and of yourself, regardless of whether it's before you're trying, as you're trying, after you've tried, and most people get really frustrated after they've had their child, and that was me, because I was like, well, what the hell, we've got what we wanted, we're married, we're buying a house, all the tick sheet stuff that, that we're programmed to think, that's all the stuff we should be doing. Why don't I feel okay? And it was because I'd lost myself so badly. So don't feel hopeless. The really good news is you can find yourself again. It just takes time and effort and consistency. I have just noticed a question, so I'm just going to click on it to make sure I answer it now. Just wondering what happens at the first fertility appointment. My husband has 0 sperm count due to having overload estrogen. We are being referred to a fertility clinic. What should we expect, as we are worried and want to prepare for the appointment? Okay, so your first appointment is generally a bit of a fact find about you, your husband, your relationship, They will probably ask you if you've ever been pregnant before. They do ask things such as if you've ever had an abortion. They'll probably ask a little bit about your cycles, periods. Are you regular? Do you know about like ovulation? If you haven't already had like a doctor's report or something sent to them. So it's generally finding out a lot of information about you and your partner, your health. Sometimes it depends. Sometimes your blood test results, if you've had them from a doctor, will be sent over, but a lot of the time at your fertility appointment they'll just start from scratch again and do full blood work. They will probably ask your husband to do a sperm sample and do that if they know that there's going to be a problem with the sperm, just because most fertility clinics will want to take the information that a doctor or hospital has sent, but they pretty much start from scratch. So I would expect that. The appointment, I would say, is probably about a 40-minute appointment. They can be quite comfortable depending on the person you get. So my advice would be to write down any questions that you have, because you can get in there and start talking and then you come away and later that day or the next day you think I should have asked that. Generally they will give you some information or talk to you about the process, about what's going to happen. If you've got some sort of fertility plan by the end of it, which you'll normally have at least your next step, they will normally write this down for you, give you any information verbally or in the form of like leaflets, pamphlets, things like that. And normally give you, if you haven't already, like a cost summary if you are having to pay for your fertility treatment. So now I know that there is more support available in form of counselling and things like that than when I was going through it. That was a few years back, but one thing I will say is it does tend to vary from where you are having your treatment, which is unfortunate. You know, it really should be something that's across the board more, but just make sure you're organised as best as you can and take that pad or notebook, whatever it is, with you every single time. Write down everything that they're saying to you, write down everything that you're asking in the responses. Don't feel rushed, because so many people, and I made this mistake, so many people feel like, oh okay, and you know, you've got your pen and you're writing and you need to be able to make sure that you look down at what you've written and make sure that you can understand that when you've gone home, because you will digest it much better when you get home. So don't feel rushed. That's your appointment. It's your time. It's your time to make sure that you've got all of your questions answered. Make sure that you know at least what the next step is, or if possible, the next 2 or 3 steps. Make sure that you know of any costs that are involved for you if you are paying for your treatment, because that's a burden that can play on our minds as well. And also try and have almost like a debrief when you're on your way home with your husband and your partner. Again, everything I ever share is something I've generally learned personally. Me and my husband sort of always got in the car and tried to be like, yeah, you know, and it is exciting, but we never spoke about the negative stuff. And it can snowball and roll and roll and roll, because I was scared to be negative because I didn't want him to be negative or think I was being negative, and he was doing the same. So almost treat your drive home or your transport home as you debrief, and start the process as you mean to go. Just be really open and honest with each other. But if you want to get any more support, then just message me. So my Facebook page is the Fertility Coach, but I'm tagged personally on here, Charlotte Lowe's Harris. So my Facebook page is the Fertility Coach, and on Instagram I'm Fertility Coach UK. So please feel free to message me privately and let me know how you get on at your appointment. I know that there's another question here. Let me find it. I've recently been diagnosed with polycystic ovaries at 33. We've been trying to conceive 8 months. Just wanting to know if there are any specific groups out there. Okay, so groups it's one of the things that I love, but it's also one of the things that I don't tell people to stay away from them because they're great. But what I do tend to say is just be careful. And again, this is all from my personal experience. You can get so obsessed in other people and what they're doing that it can take over your own journey. So polycystic ovaries, lots of people get pregnant with polycystic ovaries, so please don't feel defeated. That's my first word of advice for you. I've had multiple clients with polycystic ovaries getting pregnant who thought that they would never get pregnant, who it had taken years. So you can definitely get pregnant with polycystic ovaries. So hopefully that helps to reassure you. There are, if you just type in Facebook like PCOS and click on groups, there are groups. I have got a private and safe and secure group myself, which is the Fertility Coach support group. You have to answer the questions to come into the group, and it's completely safe and secure, and I do a live there every Tuesday at 6. The group's only just started, but one of the reasons that I created the group was to provide support and friendships, because you can have the best friends in the world, but if your friends haven't gone through what you're going through or have gone through, it can be really hard to try and communicate. So there are a number of groups out there. There is a lot of support compared to what there was years ago. But what I would say is have a fair balance between that support. So seek that support and those friendships and everything else, but also make sure you stay in your own lane, so to speak. So concentrate on your own journey. And I say that because I got so focused on what everybody else was doing that I completely lost track. I'm talking about losing myself, and that's what it's about. But I lost so much of my focus on me and what I could have been doing for myself, because I was reading everyone else's posts, commenting on them. If someone got pregnant, I was happy for them, but deep down sometimes I was like, oh God, they've only been trying that long. And again, we say, oh, you know, I know it's really bad, but I feel bitter, or I feel resentful, or I feel jealous. And then I got so focused on, actually I was obsessed with, well, they got pregnant because they used this supplement or they tried this method. And I got so focused on what everyone else was doing that sometimes I forgot about my own journey. So make sure you've got a balance with groups and your own journey. So there are quite a few. I'm not going to say which ones are best, because it's really a matter of personal preference and the way that the group is run. But if you do want any more support, then please just let me know. My comments have gone off for some reason. I'm hoping that they'll come back on if there is anything. But yeah, so there is support groups. They are great. Don't get too obsessed with them. Hold my hands up. I completely did. That was my life. I spent every single night on support groups, looking at other people's journeys from years ago who had very different journeys compared to me. So just make sure you find the balance. So if you do feel like you've lost yourself, or you do feel like you are losing yourself in the process, then don't be scared. You can get yourself back. You just need some time, effort and commitment to it. And if all else fails, just reach out to me. Like I say, my inbox is always open. And if you want to join my own group, it's the Fertility Coach support group. There's no fee or anything. It's completely free. We encourage to share our own stories and build friendships, because it's friendships that we need, and it's that understanding. So if there is anything I can do to help, then please reach out to me. If you do feel like you've lost yourself, just start afresh. I will be putting some tips on. Sorry, that's my daughter playing with a dog cage. So I will be putting some tips on about how to find yourself again and what worked for me. Sorry, the comments have gone off for some reason. So I hope that's been useful to you. Like I say, if you want to reach out to me, I'm the Fertility Coach on Facebook and Fertility Coach UK on Instagram. And I'll be on Instagram next Tuesday at 11 o'clock. Take care.